piece of fantastic mood lighting do I have here? It's not that I'm trying to create a mood. It's just in this room the light is terrible. So I've got a light here just because if I didn't have this light, it'd be completely dark. And this is the best thing to do, man. It's a tight spot. What you see behind me is a piece of history, my history, car history. It is a Chevrolet S10 Blazer. I bought this thing in 2006. It is a 1991. Pretty much could have bought anything within reason, you know, that a young 20-something could buy on a budget. And man, I saw this was it. I like the gas mileage. I've always liked hatchbacks, even station wagons I like, and this was it. It looks rough right now. It is rough right now. This is my new project. I've been wanting a car project. I did not want this car project just because I have this one. I wanted a new car project. This is a project that I've been dreading for a while. It is a tomb of my own making, and I'm gonna tell you about that. But first I'm gonna start with history, and you're not gonna care about this, but I care about this. And when I'm gonna watch this video again, I'm gonna wanna know about this stuff because I will have forgotten it. I bought it in 2006. I had huge plans for this. When I bought it, it had a 3/4 drop kit on it, so the stance was right, but other than that, all stock. Blue interior, which I hate, but it's 2-wheel drive, 2-door Blazer, you just can't find it. It had the sliding rear windows, which I did not like. My plans to change that eventually, but it's 4.3, V6, awesome, automatic. I mean, I love this thing from the moment I got it. I got it for a great deal, got it for $600 because the guy said there's something messed up with the radiator, and really all it was, the drain plug in the radiator, and when I guess when we put it back in, he cross-threaded it, so it wouldn't hold any coolant. And so I figured that out, put it back in, didn't have any issues. I changed the water pump at one point. I had to replace a vacuum hose or a gasket, carburetor gasket, I don't know. When I got this, like I had like no car mechanical inclination, like I'd never done anything, so I learned a lot on this, like how to do a lot of different things. When I first got this thing, I pulled the entire interior out. I don't remember why I pulled it out, but I sprayed like the rust-proof whatever all in the interior because I wanted to keep this thing pristine forever. I mean, this car, I plan to keep it forever. I plan to do a second-gen S10 front-end swap, and I was going to do it out of fiberglass because I didn't know how to weld. I still don't know how to weld, but I'm hoping to learn on this thing. I've got some plans for it yet still. I thought I was going to get rid of it, but I'm reconsidering that because it's just not worth much anymore, and I've let it sit for so long it's worth even less. But I even drew renderings of what I was going to make this thing look like. You know, it's going to be black and green, two-tone, lowered wheels, like just awesome. I was going to complete fiberglass interior because I knew how to fiberglass back then. I don't do as much anymore now. It's just a bit of pain in the butt. I daily drove this thing for, gosh, for a good 5 years, and in the last 5 years I kind of split between two different vehicles. I did a frame off restoration from an S10 pickup truck, which I since sold because that's the way these things go. I kept this. I intended to sell this. In about 2016, I sold the frame off restoration of the orange S10 I did. Intended to sell this right behind it. And I took the battery out of this, put in the orange truck to sell that. And it's like, oh, I need a battery. And you keep putting it off and putting it off. And all of a sudden, this thing has been sitting in my yard for a year. Then all of a sudden, it's 2 years, 3 years. It's been sitting for 5 years. That's why it looks like this. It's been sitting for 5 years. I'm not even going to try to crank it because there's a number of things I need to do to ensure it will crank and run reliably, not mess something else up. Somewhere around 2010, 2009, I painted it myself. I did it with a roller. Yeah, it is what it is, man. I was on a budget. For a long time I was on a budget. And it came out looking really good. You can kind of see it's blue and gray, two-tone, and I was limited by the colors that Rust-Oleum makes. There's a certain like kind of Rust-Oleum paint used. It didn't look bad. I mean, granted, like it's a roller, like we know that looks like. But if I had buffed it, it would have looked pretty doggone good. And I replaced the rear windows, replaced sliders with clear rear windows. I got, and the rear glass is not in there anymore, but it was clear. If you know S10s and Blazers, it's clear, no defroster, no wiper, no frame. Is a 93, 94 glass. I mean, it clear. It's a unicorn, hard to find. It's no longer on there. I'm actually trying to sell it because if I can get a little money out of it, why not? You know, because this thing. So I thought when I was gonna sell this 5 years ago, I thought maybe I could get 2K out of it if I'm lucky, maybe 1,800. At this point, as it sits now, I can't get much of anything for it. It doesn't run. This project is, I plan to restore it. Well, let me back up. I plan to get it running. Past that, I don't know. I've done a lot of stuff to cars. You know, more and more these days, more maintenance. But I've never attempted something like this, trying to get a car that doesn't run to run. Did a little bit of searching. Yeah, I kind of had an idea of what I needed to do. Did a little bit of searching to see what I was missing, and actually, I wasn't really missing much. I kind of knew most of it. Things in rough shape, man. It's just. The interior, I had pulled the interior out of it. That was a little mildewy, so that no interior in it other than the carpet, dash. It's a project, man, and I've just been putting it off because I drove this thing, man. I love this thing. To see it like this, it kind of pains me. Again, it's my fault. I let it sit that long, you know, just collecting dust. But I kept thinking, oh, like, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it. And life comes at you fast. And before you know it, it's been sitting 5 years. And I just thought, you know what? Let me just tackle it. If I can get it running, awesome. Like, you know, I feel like, hey, that's great. You know, I've accomplished something because, you know, I'm always trying to learn. I've been wanting to get some car projects, and I thought, yeah, I really want a new car project because this, like, I've been there, done that. Let's see if we can get it running. That will be a lot of fun. So that's the history of this vehicle. I thought I was gonna fix it up and just get out of it whatever I could, but at this point, maybe I get 1,500, maybe only 1,200, maybe less than that. Like, that's assuming I can get it running. I mean, it needs some TLC for sure, but that's not a ton for it. And I love this thing. Do I still love it? I don't know. But here's what I'm toying with. I definitely want to paint this. I want to spray it. I want to like try to do it professional, do it right, because that's been something I've wanted to do for a while, and I definitely want to do it on one of my other vehicles, and I need a test case. You know, I need to kind of make all my mistakes. I figure this is a great thing to make mistakes on, because mess up, what does it really matter? I'd kind of like to learn how to weld. That has been on my to-do list for a long time. I don't know how to weld. I've been looking for a welder off and on. I'll look for a few days. I don't find anything. I get bored and I'll quit, and I'll go back a few weeks later. Because here's the thing I'm thinking about this thing. And I'm not saying this will happen, but it's just kind of in the back of my mind, and it's been in the back of my mind for a couple of years now. Because I had another Blazer before this that didn't run. I thought it was a perfect candidate, and I sold that for like nothing. I should have kept it. Stupid, but I sold it. That's the way it goes. I would love to have a Roadster Blazer, and that is some work. You know, you got to cut the top half off, keep the windshield, and you got to cap it. You got to do it right. Like if I do this, I'm very detail oriented, and I like to do things my way, which I generally consider the right way. But I'd love to make it a Roadster. I'd love to do maybe some kind of trunk in the back, you know, right behind the rear seats, like frame it out, do a trunk, because it would be weird open, in my opinion. You know, I would think you'd have to get an S10 bed, get the top rails off to kind of cap the doors, to cap the rear of it. It'd be a lot of work, man, but you know what? I get my welding education that way. That's where we are, and you know, in this, so white's sitting right here. It's been sitting in my yard. I do not want to work on this in my yard. Like, for one, you know, you got the grass and all that getting underneath it, because I might have to pull the gas tank. The bugs, man, mosquitoes eat me alive. I hate it. It can be hot, it can be cold, it can be rainy, it can be all kinds of things. So I originally thought I was going to put it into my shop, rearrange my shop, squeeze it in there. But if I do that, I can't use my shop because a bunch of my tools are out. You know, my workbench is pushed to the corner. It just makes it unusable, and I need my shop, even during this project, because, you know, I don't think I'm going to knock this project out in a weekend. I think it's going to take me a little bit longer. I'm going to be learning as I go. So I have another garage in my house, second garage, and it had like a lawnmower, some go-karts in it, which they are sitting in my shop right now, but they can be pulled out as needed if necessary. And so squeeze this thing in here. And so this thing, when I first got it, I actually put door poppers in it. You know, I left handles on because I don't know how to weld, but it has door poppers. It had the remote. They quit working like right before I set it down. But man, I like figured all that out. That was cool. Did it in the shop with no lights. And I'm kind of thinking, is one of my projects need to be to put lights in this room? Because all it has is one and a second incandescent, and it's just so dim in here. And I'm thinking it needs 6 shop lights, you know, 4-foot fluorescents, kind of like my shop has. Because that'd make this a lot nicer. I mean, it is dark here. Like, check this out. I'm gonna show you how dark it is. This light, out. Look at that. It's all shadow because there's only 2 lights. So it's all shadow. It just gives you a little bit of light. I mean, creates a little bit of mood. At least you can kind of see my face. It looks like I'm some kind of horror movie. But let me show you this Blazer that I love is in a state of repair. Oh, you know what? I was talking about the front end swap. I plan to do a second gen S10 swap. Let me show you those fenders. I still have those. They're like kind of in the pile to get thrown away, but I haven't done it yet because I put so much time into it, man. As a kid, I wasted so much time. I wish I could like put that to better things, but I didn't. This is my first gen, second gen swap fender. You can see, yeah, I kind of figured out transition from the black is the first gen, all the body filled second gen. You can see it. You know, I worked around the wheel well. You can see in the backside, figured out transition. And so you can see the first gen has a body line, the second gen doesn't. So what I plan to do is, this was before they were a little bit more ubiquitous, but like the Cadillac Escalade has more, you have the kind of vent right here. So that might be my way to transition it. It gets a little bit messier. I think what I did was I borrowed a friend's S10 fenders, made a negative mold, and then made a positive mold off of it. Now the problem is I didn't get any edges. I just kind of stopped at the edges, and I didn't get kind of, you know, where you have these seams and stuff. So it just gets some rough edges. You can see all the dirty work of the fiberglass in there. Didn't know what I was doing. That's what it was, man. I had big plans for it. Didn't quite work out. And you can see it's got the right shape. You can see there's a chip, you know, right there. I mean, these things have been moved around so much. I did these in 2006. Fiberglass is not the way to do it. I mean, I had a good plan. I really needed some true second-gen metal fenders, and probably should create them in metal. I didn't have it well. That's why I avoided that. And then if I'd really wanted to, maybe create the outer skins out of fiberglass and just kind of sell a kit where you can use the inner skin, like from a reproduction or a legitimate S10 fender, and then sell the fiberglass outside skin. I had big dreams. It didn't pan out. Start at the front corner. I mean, I had color matched everything. I mean, look at, it's gross. I know. It's been sitting a while. We're going to start. We'll do a walk around in the car. Good old 4.3 V6. Green air cleaner. Came like that. You can see a bunch of leaves up there. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nastiness in the engine. I mean, look at all that stuff. There's some stuff. You can see it in there. But I mean, this thing was a beast for a long time. I averaged about 25 miles to the gallon with this thing, mostly highway driving. Had to replace the water pump. But all in all, I mean, it was great. You can see something been chewing on my liner. My other S10, I just took the liner out completely because you can't find these liners anywhere. I'll probably just take it out of this one because the clips are, like I saw that clip right there. It broke, it fell out. This thing's all ratty and chewed up. So you can see, rocking the old second gen S10 swirl fit wheels. I had some like first gen Super Sports at one time. I had some Steelies at one point. I since sold the Steelies because people really love those moon caps. I mean, look at this. It's been sitting outside for 5 years. This is what it looks like. I got the sport mirrors. I mean, I did this thing right. So I did repaint the rolling. See, like, I don't know what was going on there. I don't know why it put up like that. The roof is really bad. I mean, look at that. I had completely, like, so the roof was a little rusty before I started painting, and I completely took all the trim off. It's got a sunroof, like a little manual sunroof. It's never leaked on me, thankfully. I don't know what the state of it is now. But I sanded this roof all the way down. I used etching primer, out of a can, and then I rolled it. And I don't know, man, I'm disappointed with how it turned out, like how it got so much rusty after all that. And I guess that's just why you should use professional stuff, the expensive stuff, instead of primer. I did etching primer, but out of a can, it just didn't quite do it for me. So I replaced the door panels with gray, and inside is blue. Hated it. Blue carpet. I've took the seats out. I've not vacuumed this. I plan to do that. Really all I've done is taking the seats out. You take the seats out, that's all the interior there is to an S10. Rocking the GMC horn cap, because I liked the duality of that. Dash is in rough shape. You can see the sunroof. I mean, it never leaked on me. It treated me right. It was really pointless, but it is what it is. The headliner was sagging when I got it. Took it out. Planned to replace it. Never did. Those windows. I bought basically a whole other S10 from a junkyard because the guy just didn't want it, and it's $100, and that's what I would have paid for the windows anyway. But these were clear windows, and man, they looked baller. Just say they looked baller before I let this thing sit for 5 years. Yeah, the gas gauge, you can see that is a wasp nest in there. Luckily, no wasps. I'm not even open that up. I mean, I'm sure that gas is going to smell putrid because it's been a while. So the rear glass, this is a different one. Like I had the frameless, no defroster, completely clear, no wiper hole. And I took that out just because it is worth more than this one. And I thought I could try to sell it separately if somebody realizes what it is, what I had. So one of the few mods I did, trying to hold the hatch up, which has no struts. So it has an exterior third brake light that came on S10s and some GM vans. I mounted to the interior panel, so it would shine like right here. It was right here on the inside. Looked really trick. One of the coolest things I did. Got the smooth hinges. See that? One thing I learned is that on the frameless glass, you don't have a little notch for the frame. So I had this hinge before when I had the clear one, and that had the notch for the other one. The other one was not notched because it's for a frameless glass, and so now they don't match. It is cramped in this basement. I have much of a choice because I don't want to be outside. It just bugs eat me up. Well, look at this thing. It looks like some kind of barn find, like it's been in a barn for 20 or 30 years. It has not. I just, let it sit. I mean, like even the windshield, it's nasty. It's gunk. It's a sad sight to see. Because, man, I love this thing. I drew it all over the place. I'm not opening the gas cap because I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm kind of, not excited to see that. I assume it's going to smell putrid. So I'm opening the radiator. Because I did look in there before. It does not look good. I mean, like, look at that. Let's see. Nasty. I don't even see a fluid level in there. You can see it is nasty. I'm going to need to dump whatever fluid is in this. Potentially nothing. I mean, I don't think I had a leak. I don't know. Maybe it just evaporates over 5 years. I will definitely need to dump what's in there, put some in there, and then once I get it running, do a flush, probably like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 flushes. Motor mounts are bad on it. I think valve seals, I got a little bit of blue smoke on startup. I think that's the valve seals. You see, oh, that's my headlight fix. So these headlights are stupid. They have like these plastic clips and screws where you adjust them. I was too cheap, and so I got some wire to tie it in the spot. Yeah, I'm using a flashlight because it's so dark in this garage. Yeah, I may end up by the end of it doing a little mini project, put some lights in here. Yeah, it's always been dim in here, but if you're just using a storage, it's not as big of a deal. When I moved to my shop, I had the same 2 incandescent light bulbs set up, and that's why I upgraded to 6 fluorescent shop lights. But man, this is my Blazer. I drove this thing all the time, man. Oh, it's got the digital dash gauge. That thing, it looks so cool. I still think it looks cool. It's very like 80s Outrun vibe. That's part of the sport package. It did have power windows and door locks. The only reason you don't see those is because I put the gray panels on there, and the gray panels didn't have the spot for it, so I plan to eventually cut it out. So that is a manual window. Well, that's because I swapped this door out because when I painted it, the bottom of the door was completely rusted out, so I swapped the door. I was going to drill that out and put my power actuators and all that stuff in that was in the old door. So that one, you see, it does not have the power window crank because it's power. Like all the power stuff is in there. I just I needed to cut out the holes for the thing. That was my plan. Probably wouldn't look good. Probably need to find a panel that actually has the cutouts to make it look better. Did replace the rearview mirror with one that had all the lights and stuff. I'm not sure if I powered that up or not. Mirror speakers, they were like Pioneer 6x9s replaced. The front, I think, were like Memphis Audio, I don't remember what it's called. This is it, man. It makes me a little sad. I daily drove this forever. Never meant to let it sit this long, but it did. Oh, see, I told you I rolled it. I even did the jams. Did it right. Doesn't look right anymore. So this is the project. My next step, I just want to vacuum out the interior, vacuum out like the engine bay with all the acorns and stuff in there. Then I will drop the gas tank, dump the gas tank. Let's see, probably replace the fuel filter. I need to dump the coolant, fill that with some fresh coolant. I do have a battery, I need to install the battery. I'm hoping I can get this running. I feel confident about it. We will see. Unfortunately, this garage is so small, it's hard to get a good angle of anything. Anything you do get is dark. And again, this is my garage. I've been using the storage, so there's like a lot of junk in here. Giving you a point of view shot, here we are. So the gas tank has this plastic cover, protective cover over it. I'm going to take that down, obviously, first. And it is really nice being able to work in the shop. Yes, the lighting in here is not great, but I dropped a bolt. And look, I've got a concrete floor to where it's very easy to see that bolt. I didn't have to dig through gravel and grass to try to find it. I can just lay my bolts out right there and they stay. It's very easy to roll around on the creeper on concrete. And when I was outside, it'd be even darker than it is now, so all of it is nice. I'm ready. Let's see. Roll over here. Let's let this thing down. Because it's got holes in it. And gravel and crud gets in there, so I'm kind of curious as to what is in there. And I didn't want to just dump it on myself as I let it down, because I don't know what all that crud is. I don't want it falling on me. It's coming down. Anticipation. Alright, I made two hands still. Free that. Gravel. Yeah, not as much crap as I thought would be in there, to be honest with you. It's certainly a lot of crap. Not as much as I thought it'd be. That's so much rust. Let's see. Light. It's on that tank. Oh man, that strap. Look at that strap. I may need new straps. Look at that. Like some Titanic level stuff going on. The tank itself, certainly some surface rust on the bottom. I think it's okay. I don't know. We'll find more. I mean, these straps, I may end up killing these straps, getting them out. I mean, that is just no good. Now, let me dump that. Continue the process. So it's time for a little bit of a story. If you notice, there should be a shock mounted to that bolt. It goes all the way up to here, if I can roll up here. So that's our top mount. And so years ago, I'm driving along in the dead of winter and I hear a pop in the back of my vehicle. I knew it was something, like some kind of hardware related thing. It wasn't like an engine or exhaust or anything. I knew it was hardware related. So dead of winter, I get home, I get in the vehicle. It's not fun because it's the dead of winter. And I can tell the top shock is not attached to anything. Well, at the time I thought the top shock mount had just broken off, the tab had snapped. And I'm looking at it tonight, looking at it, and I see, 2 screw holes on the one that's missing a shock, 2 screw holes with screws in it, and the shock in the other side. And I was like, all right, I know I've got this shock somewhere, because I'd saved it just for that day that eventually I fixed this. And I dig out my shock, and I did find it, and I compressed it just to see how good it was. I compressed it. It did not extend back out. If you know shocks, that's a problem. They're supposed to extend back out, because that's what cushions your ride. Actually, the shocks need to be replaced. They've been on there a while. So I've discovered that the top shock mount didn't break off or anything. What it is, there's 2 screws, and for some reason it's just an open slot. Let me show you what it looks like. So for the shock, you see that's just a open slot on both sides. And I guess for a reason, one screw worked itself out, and I don't know how long there's just one screw in there, one bolt in there rather. And I think it just slipped enough to where it popped out past the screw, because the one screw is still in there. And the other screw is probably on the road, who knows where. That's good. I thought I was gonna have to weld this shock mount back in place. I don't, like, it's all there. I guess whoever put the shocks in just didn't tighten that screw enough, or that bolt enough, or maybe it worked itself out. I don't know. The thing I'm missing though is the bottom bolt for the shock. I may have it somewhere, it's very possible. Now, the question is, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, because I have, a bin of nuts. Do I have this one? I don't know. Did I use it on some other project? I don't know. But it's so funny to me that, gosh, was I dumb back then? Because I don't know why I thought the top shock mount broke off. I mean, looking at it, I just don't know how I thought that. Maybe it's been in my haste in the freezing cold and wanting to get inside. That was the conclusion I came to, but that's not the case. Everything is intact. I'm just missing one bolt for the top of the shock and potentially one nut bottom of the shock. The good thing is, and I hope, the years are interchangeable. Most Chevrolet stuff, GM stuff is interchangeable. I've got another Blazer just sitting in a field somewhere. I thought about getting rid of it, but they're worth so little, and I was like, I can't get $200 for it, and just let it sit there and rust out. So hopefully there's some bolts on there that I can salvage and scavenge. That's a good thing about when I've been working on things. I've always had at least 2 S10s at one time, so it's always nice when you're trying to work on one. You're like, how does this stuff go together? You can look at the other one. It makes it really easy. We are about to drop this gas tank, but I just want to show you these straps, show you some things I've done here. I don't know if you can see just how nasty and rusty these straps are. They were very rusted. And if you think WD-40, if you wonder, does WD-40, does it help loosen bolts? For sure. So these gas tank straps, you can see how rusted the straps are. The bolts are basically rusted to the straps. I tried to muscle it. I tried to knock them. Didn't work. So sprayed them one time with WD-40. Really, you got to really douse them in the WD-40. Came back the next day. 2 of the bolts, they loosened up, got them out. Had 2 bolts, the really rusted ones, they did not come out. Sprayed the 2 a second time. Came back the next day. Got one of them out. The third one still would not budge. I mean, I was putting all my might into it. I wanted it done that night. Didn't work. Sprayed it a 3rd time. Came back just now. Things came right out. So WD-40 does work. Got a bolt that's rusted. Spray it. Spray it again. Spray it another time if you need to. Now we're going to drop the tank. Now, a few things to note. You see, I do have the jack under the tank. I don't recall how much gas is in the tank. So I've got this jack under. I'm going to drop it slowly. Make sure nothing super important is under it. But you've got to be careful with anything. I mean, working on the vehicle, there is gravity working against you. You don't want things to fall on you, to hit you. So let's see. I've tried to center the jack. If the tank falls, I don't think it's a big deal. We'll see. Let's start loosening it. Wow. Look at how much gunk. I don't know if that's just daily road gunk or like there's an animal under there. Alright, let's see. I want to make sure that the tank is dropping evenly front to back. Looks like I got the front dropping a little bit more than the back. Unfortunately, I don't have it strapped in. Huh. I don't know. That is a lot of gunk. I think that is some stuff nesting up in there. That does not seem like normal road. I mean, some of this gravel's road gunk, but some of it looks like nesting. I have loosened the filler neck, so that should come out. I don't have any of the wiring on top because I'm hoping there's enough wiring leeway for me to just drop it and then loosen it. Well, since I haven't, so I'm not quite familiar with how, I can see it now. See all the lines. Looks like I got a bunch of hose clamps right up here. It is making progress. I am going to center the jack because I don't want this tank to fall because again, I just don't know how much, what is in it, how much is in it. Let me check these filler lines. Look at that's just hose clamps and the lines are on the driver's side. From what I can tell, it looks like I've lowered enough where I can see up there, and it looks like that's it, just those filler lines. I guess there should be some electronics on it though. I don't remember seeing that. Here's where we are. I've dropped the tank. Now, I said before, I didn't see the wires for the fuel pump. They were on the kind of more on the passenger side. That has enough length to where I can drop the tank, as you can see. So you can see it's hanging all crooked and angled. That's because I didn't want to take off the fuel filler neck. So that extends so much farther that it's kind of cocking the tank down. So I think I'm going to have to pull the whole thing this way to get it out. Still don't quite know how heavy it is. Doesn't seem super heavy, so I don't think there's a lot of gas in it. There's actually some. I did loosen the fuel line, so I need to guide it up before we start lowering the tank, because otherwise that's really going to hold it in place. But really the only thing holding it is just that fuel filler neck is above the frame rail, and so I need to pull the whole thing this way to get it out. And a little bit trickiness to that, so I might raise it back up, recenter jack more on this side to try to pull the whole thing this way, because I also have to clear the leaf spring, so I really have to come down at this angle to get it. But all in all, not bad. Now that I got the straps loose, it is moving. Don't quite know how heavy it is, but we'll find that out soon. We'll see if we can get this thing out. Need to get this truck out of the way. It is just sitting on there because I found it and it needs to go back. So the tank is out. A few things to note if you've never dropped a tank and you're for some reason relying on me. If you notice, I did support the tank with the jack because you don't want the tank to be hanging by the fuel lines or hanging by the electrical connection. Mine was kind of hanging by the filler neck. That I don't care about. It doesn't really matter. But the fuel lines and the electrical connection, that is crucial. You don't want it hanging by that. So I made sure to support it until those were disconnected. I had some trouble with that electrical connection, and I'll show you exactly what happened because I was trying to work it out. I got it out, but it didn't quite come out the way it's supposed to. I'm going to have to check this out because I don't know what the fuel pump and what these connectors are supposed to look like, but I know that this is wrong. See the electrical connection I pulled out? Those prongs, like that is a bung. That bung should be in the fuel tank. The whole thing should not have come out. It looks like, the oxidation here, I think the whole thing's just rusted. I don't know. That should plug into some part of the fuel tank. I may need a whole new fuel pump when all this is over. I'm going to try it on the one I got. I may be replacing it. But that part should not come out. That should be in the fuel pump body. And you can kind of see that little ring. That and this connection should have separated. It did not. I was having trouble trying to get loose. I mean, I wiggled it. I jiggled it. Put some pressure on it. And yeah, you can see the oxidation. Yeah, it may be a moot point anyway. I would guess quarter, maybe less full. It is not super heavy, but I've been able to maneuver underneath the vehicle. So it is out. You can see there's a lot of mess. It was just above the tank. You can see, I mean, they only had some creatures above the tank. I'm sure it's a nice spot. This is probably the problem. You let things sit. You got these creatures all over the place, and they're going to tear stuff up. I need to dispose of the gas. I don't know if my county takes it or if I need to take it someplace else. That's something I have to figure out. I know the county takes antifreeze. Do they take bad gas? Because this gas, it's no good. I mean, you can smell it. It's bad. So one important note as you're moving this gas tank, I did not put the gas cap back on. I did not connect the fuel vent line back to the filler neck. Wish I'd done that because as I was moving it, it tipped just ever so slightly and a little bit of gas came out of the filler neck and the vent line. Not that much, but you know what? A little bit goes a long way, and I'm going to take a break because the fumes are strong in here.